Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about The Leftovers, Season 1, Episode 10. It is the season finale. It is called The Prodigal Son Returns. Full spoilers for the episode, as always. Well, first things first, I was not familiar with this version of Nothing Else Matters that plays
Oh, I am by Four
during...
Cellos. It is an excellent piece.
You mean Apocalyptica?
Is it Apocalypto one? Isn't it the Four Cellos one?
When I looked it up afterwards, I got Apocalyptica.
Oh, okay.
So, haha!
Oh, of course. No, Metallica by Four Cellos is the name of the album.
Ah.
That's where I'm getting that from. I'm just spacing.
Well, yeah. I don't, this is the tricky thing is when it started playing. Like, had it been the actual song, like had I heard the guitar going ding ding ding
Yeah,
ding ding, I would have got it right away that it was Nothing Else Matters, right? But here, because it's all violins, it just sounds like score, right? So it just blends into the soundtrack as normal. So it
it's all
wasn't.
cellos, but yeah.
Sorry,
It's all cellos, but yeah.
why would that not blend into the score?
Well, you just said it was all violins, so I'm just
I thought it said string instruments. I thought it said it was all strings.
no
You sure?
positive.
I thought it said strings. I meant to say strings.
All right.
Which is why I thought your violin comment was stupid, because they're stringed instruments. Right, whatever.
Yeah.
Goddamn cellos, shove them at your arse, right? Let me finish my goddamn sentence. So, so it wasn't until I got to the melody that I went, wait a minute, this is a song. This is Metallica. What's going on?
Yeah, this is something I know.
There was this moment of realization as it got just as the first lyric. Well, it's not a lyric when it's all strings, but like what would be the
What
first
would be
lyric?
the lyrics? Yeah.
Yeah, it was when that came in. I was like, wait a minute, I know
Yeah.
this.
It's because it's quite basic. It's just arpeggios going up and down. Like it's
Yeah,
nothing that especially when Richter's score is quite minimalist and plays a lot with just arpeggios going up and down anyway. So it kind of does fit in quite a lot.
aye, arpeggios. I know what that means.
It should.
So, so yeah, so this was the season finale, and I thought this was a really good season finale. I thought there was a lot of big elements here, a lot of big emotional scenes. It mainly stuck with Kevin. There was obviously other things going on, but it mainly kept coming back to him without like it set up stuff up in other plots, and then we'd leave them, and we wouldn't see the rest of it until he saw the effects of it. Like there was
Yeah, it was smart.
so that's kind of how it played. The placement of the last episode also felt a lot more understandable, given a few things that happens in this one, because it was like, oh, so when Kevin starts talking about how he was the day it happened and how he was with his family, it's like, okay, we've just seen this, we understand the context of what he's saying.
Yeah.
Whereas, he doesn't say enough to give us all of it, but because we've seen it and then we hear him saying it, we understand what he's meaning when he's talking about it also. Um, so no, that all worked really well too. Very emotional episode. I thought there was a lot of emotional scenes. I thought Justin Theroux repeatedly was hitting some scenes out of the park. Basically, any scene where he started crying was gold.
Pretty much.
Uh,
He did a great job.
there was a couple of those in particular. So where to begin? I guess I guess we start with Kevin and just
Yeah.
stick with him. God, I feel like so much happened this episode. I'm having a harder time placing it all in my head, like in a row. That because normally I find it really easy.
Yeah.
This one, for
Yeah,
some reason,
I can vividly picture the first shot of Kevin
yeah, yeah,
because he's just
yeah,
stood over the body.
yeah. He's in there. He starts smoking again, but eventually we see he makes a call, and eventually Matt shows up, and that's kind of where we go with him. And Matt's there to help, and he like tells Matt, "Don't touch the body, because like it's a crime scene." Like, and he's like, "Yeah, but she did this to herself." It's like, "Yeah, no one's going to believe that." So, I believe it. Yeah, well, Matt, you're not exactly the.
That's it. He's just like, yeah, but no, come on.
Yeah, but of course Matt came prepared with shovels. He was ready to go down this path,
Yeah,
which I think is interesting. And then, of course, later on you realise, okay, I mean, I believe he's been helpful. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he necessarily only did this because he has a motive, but there was a bit of a motive there where later on he's like, right, so what did you say? I want to save these people. And to be fair, if this is an ulterior motive, it's a pretty good
it's a pretty
ulterior
good one,
motive.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he wants to help them,
yeah.
so it's not that shady,
Like,
but
no, he has like that great moment where he wants to shut the eyes, and Kevin says to him, "It's like, If you do that, we're in this together, and there's just no hesitation. He just immediately does it.
Yeah, he almost gives that Eccleston smile that
Yeah,
he's known for before he does it as well. Um, and they go out the barrier. He makes Kevin read this passage that he's got from the Bible, this highlighted passage. Um, Key points I thought from this passage. Obviously, a lot of it was about not really knowing where God is, even though he's kind of always with you, but never really seeing him. Kevin stuttering or stumbling at the word departed, I thought was particularly noteworthy. It was a really great moment. And it was kind of the idea that everything that's happening is still because of that. Even if he's not been realising it recently. Everything that's happened in the last 12 hours. This woman murdering herself, all of it is sort of like brought it back to him. And so him stumbling at that word, I thought was a really, really nice touch. And obviously the fact that even after that he starts to get really emotional. Clearly he likes to play the tough guy, but this is all affecting him.
Oh, absolutely. He did just watch a woman slash her throat in front of him.
Yeah, few people would not be affected by that.
Yeah.
Few people.
Yeah. And that on top of, the whole going crazy thing.
Yeah, he's worried about going crazy, which of course is about to become very relevant because he gets back in the car. Obviously, there's some very nice shots of it. This is a really simple thing, but I really like the shots of him cleaning up. Matt's got like a bottle of water and he's got some fresh clothes for him to put on. But it's just the close-ups of him washing just the water dripping off his hands. It's very. It almost feels like a priest baptizing someone, like that imagery of him like sort of shaking the water off his hands and things like that. It was very biblical.
I love that it keeps cutting to Matt watching him, just like checking if he's okay.
Yeah, but it's almost like he's trying to wash the sins away.
Yeah,
and to get very sort of metaphorical with it, but. So there's a little bit of a deception coming up where he does the whole sleep thing and he wakes up and he's suddenly somewhere else. He falls asleep in the car. He wakes up, and the men in white coats, not to be confused with the guilty remnant, the men in white coats, typically known as the orderlies from a mental hospital, grab him out of the car. They tackle him. Matt's like, I'm sorry, I had to do this, and they take him out and they throw him in a cell. I have to admit, I did kind of very quickly go, I'm pretty sure this is just a dream.
Yeah, me too. I think I didn't buy that Matt would have done that.
I think it's partly that. I think it's just partly that it all feels too quick. Like, I don't really buy... Like, if Matt was going to do this... Let's say, for example, he did believe that Kevin was dangerous and he wanted to do this. Like, why would he help bury her first? It just, all of it... Like, he incriminated himself and then turned him in anyway. That just kind of felt...
Yeah,
weird.
and also, as they were taking him in, he was like, look, I've got a daughter, someone needs to phone her and tell her.
Yeah.
And they were just ignoring I mean, I know he's going in there because he's crazy, but that still seems the sort of thing that they should probably listen to.
Yeah,
like, hey, someone should probably tell his teenage daughter.
Well, I don't know, I can kind of buy that. Not because they wouldn't listen, but because Matt's there, knows him, knows he's got a daughter. You just sort of take the implication. They would assume, right, he's going to deal with that because he knows him.
Yeah, but would they not say it's being dealt with? Calm him down a bit. He's clearly agitated over the fact that no one is telling his daughter. The first thing you do is like, don't worry, it's being covered.
Sure.
It just immediately just stuck out to me as, nah, that's not real.
Honestly, their whole thing felt too forceful right from the get-go. The way they grabbed him out of the car was just like,
yeah,
he's not actually doing anything dangerous right now. You would at least try to do it peacefully first.
Yeah,
you'd ask him to get out of the car, and if he refused, you'd then start to go for the grabbing. They were way too vicious. Even later on, when the one orderly comes back in the cell to ask if he's going to behave, it feels like so intimidating when it shouldn't feel that intimidating.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so he sees the National Geographic get slid under the door when he's in there, and there's a message clearly from his father saying, shut up, stop talking to yourself, and let you watch TV, which does lead to him getting out.
Did you see the page that it was on?
I did. It was the town of Cairo, which is where they just came from, where Patty was.
Now, I know they never told us that he read it, and obviously this was a dream, but I'm kind of the assumption that in one of his sleep states, he did look at it. So subconsciously, he knows. So I think that's kind of in there for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely
I think it's accurate that what he's looking at, though. I don't think he's just projecting that in this dream.
Oh yeah. It's actually from his memory rather
Yeah,
than just made up in his head right this minute. Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, so he goes to speak to his father, and there's this great one where he's talking to one of his imaginary voices, and it's behind Kevin, and he's saying, "Kevin, don't turn around." And he's like telling whoever it is to piss off. And again, all this is the other thing about this scene. Not only did I predict it was a dream, I kind of predicted a lot of the moments that were about to happen in it. I'm like, he's going to turn around and he's actually going to see the person.
yeah, yeah.
Like, it was just pretty clear that's the way it was going, and he does, and it's Patty, and I'm like, okay, maybe this is how Patty sticks around for the next two seasons. And
I
she's just
thought the same as well for a second.
because she's just going to be like a ghost tormenting him the whole time, or maybe just show up in his dreams every so often. But nah, she gets very provocative. She like sits on top of him, very very sexual, and he's like pleading for help. He's asking his dad to help, and but she eventually tells him to wake up, and he does indeed wake up, and it's again it just ties into this idea that he's got this fear of going crazy. He's worried that he is going crazy, and obviously everything he's discovered about what he's been doing when he's not realizing he's been doing it, obviously is going to add to that fear. It's all pretty. But so they've stopped, and he's like, whatever stops, like, oh, I'm hungry, just get a burger. And it's the same diner. It's the same diner that Laurie and Patty were at. Back in episode 5 or 6, whatever it was, and they're sitting there, and this is when he finally tries to open up to him. He tries to ask Kevin what's going on. What did she say before she died? And he says what she said. You understand? It's like, well, what did you understand? It's like, I don't know. It's like, well, sure you did. She slit her own throat after she thought you got the message. I'm pretty sure she was certain that you got the message before she slit her throat. It just seems, and he's got a good point. And yeah, he basically talks about this, why we're here, and it's just what was in the dream as well with his dad. His dad was talking about it as well. Like, we all knew that day. And again, it goes back to this idea that if they believe it's like a rapture, if they all went to a good place, and everyone who's left is inherently somewhere deep down bad, or at least that's what they're all worried about. That's the fear.
Yeah,
and it's maybe what's driven some people crazy, including Kevin, perhaps.
yeah, and it works for the GR as well, because they're like, no, you're all just trying to pretend it didn't happen just so you can feel okay. But if you're a bad person, you have to accept that.
So we have what might be the standout, one of several standout scenes of the episode, where Kevin fully, once he starts talking about this, once he admits it's about knowing why we're still here. He talks about how this was his fault, how just before it happened, he wanted to escape. And we saw that. We saw that he was frustrated and he wasn't happy and he thought he should be happy. He wanted to escape his life, his family, all of it. And then this tragedy happened. And I like some of the little tidbits that he dropped in here, that he was wearing his uniform and people kept asking him for help because they'd see a policeman walking down the street and they'd be like, hey, please help, my child's disappeared, or whoever. And he just couldn't. He was basically a zombie. He didn't understand what was going on or how to process any of it. And he went to go pick up the kids at their science fair thing that we saw them at, and they were happy to see him. They were relieved. Like, there were smiles on their faces. There was this because they were terrified that like he had went as well.
Yeah, they just didn't know.
Yeah, so there was this relief, and it was like this whole experience, and like obviously the woman disappearing as well that he was having sex with. It basically the shock of all this happening was like, oh shit, I've actually got it pretty good. I like these people. I love these people. I don't want to lose this. And that, of course, is incidentally when as he even says, that's when he started to lose them. That was the path that led Laurie to doing what she was doing. It was the path that led everyone else. Jill's path that we've seen, Tom off doing these weird things for Holy Wayne. More on him in a minute. But like, so it was a very great scene though, and he's like, it's my fault, because Matt says it's not your fault, and he's like, no, yes it is, and he starts crying. He blames himself.
Yeah, he's gradually breaking down throughout this monologue, but then he gets to this point and he's gone.
It's the best acting all season, I think. And that's not to criticise any of the other acting we've had this season. It's been generally really good, but
it's been at least good, if up to great at times. But this was much better.
This was great. I think there's always a risk when you have a scene where an actor has to blubber and cry and like emotionally break down, that it can feel over the top. It can feel forced. But this worked for a lot of reasons. I think it worked because he's been such a brick wall all season.
Yeah, he's just been stoic, hasn't he?
Been very stoic, swearing at everyone, not letting his emotions show. he kind of mastered that blank stare when someone says something, he'll just stare at them like, "What the hell are you talking about, you idiot?" And he kind of does that a lot. He never lets his own feelings out. So seeing him break down has a lot of weight to it because it's like he just can't hold it anymore. He's been
Yeah, it feels earned, doesn't it?
if it feels earned, it also ties in nicely to this whole theme that we've been talking about the GR and like remembering what happened. Is just on a personal level, he was trying to forget it because it was his fault, and that was too painful, so he had to ignore it. He had to pretend it didn't happen, pretend everything was okay, and when he admitted that it wasn't, this is him breaking down.
Yeah.
So, very very smartly done, and
yeah, it really was
in that sense. And what I like about that is like, sure, the departure itself was the trigger event for him realizing like this is his fault. But what I love about it is that if you take that out of it, if you take the departure away from this story, from his story, not the whole show, but his story specifically, it still plays out the same.
Yeah, it could have been anything that caused the rift in the family.
Like he started off feeling that way. It drove his wife away because she was pregnant, she wanted things, and she wanted a dog, whatever. And it rippled from there, and it would ripple throughout the family, and eventually he would lose them, and he would realize that he never actually wanted to. It was a phase he was going through. It was a crisis, a midlife crisis, whatever you want to call it. But like, I like the idea that the story plays out pretty much the same way. Sure, maybe that accelerated it a little bit, but the actual human emotion here is completely just true to life family drama story.
Definitely, it makes it. It's really relatable in this grand story of disappearing people. It grounds it and just gives it an easy connection.
Yeah, and arguably, like if the departure wasn't just the good people going to a good place, was it there to? And especially since Matt's whole thing all season has been proving no, this person was bad, and this person was bad, and this person was bad. Like, how does that even add up, really? And it makes you wonder, was the departure, if it was orchestrated by some higher being, was it to make everyone else realise something?
Yeah. So like Kevin would realise that, no, he wants his family. And maybe this higher being miscalculated a little bit because it kind of ruined everything for him.
Or after all, it could also just be a higher being playing a little bit of experimentation. You know what? I'm really bored with these people now. Let's see what happens if I just take away 2% of them. Let's see how they all react. This will be fun.
Does sound pretty fun.
Press the button.
Do you press the button?
Hey Zeus, press that big red button that says 2% on it.
Do you think at least there's a dial that like goes, we'll do 2% today?
Well, you think he's at a mixing desk? He's putting some sliders up, and then he's like, right, okay.
Yeah. Just a big dial. It's like it goes from like 0 to 100%. It's like, right, 100%. Just get rid of everyone. Just screw them. They don't deserve it.
I think it's more like a big D&D board, and he's got all the pieces.
Yeah.
And then he just plucks them off.
Does he roll a 20-sided dice to see how it goes?
He rolls a d20 to see who. Yeah, that's what it is. That's all life is. It's just a couple of gods playing D&D.
We've cracked it.
Yeah, it's not
Mysteries
divine.
of the universe solved here.
It's not divine intervention. It's a random number generator. That's all it is. Do you know what I like about the absurdity of that theory is that it mixes both the higher being and randomness into the one ideology.
That's it. We've solved it.
Excellent, great. We can move on. Life solved. So where was it? Yeah, Kevin. Kevin breaks down, and it's pretty glorious. And of course, yeah, he gets up to go to the bathroom, and we see some blood cut at the bottom of the cubicle, bottom of the stall, and he opens it, and holy shit, it's Wayne. Wayne's in there, and he's dying, as he kind of predicted he would be. What we get is a very interesting conversation between these two, where Kevin's going to go and get help. He's like, no, I'm not. I'm going to die. Just please don't leave me alone. Which I think in and of itself is quite interesting because Wayne's not exactly a character who's shown himself to be vulnerable ever.
No, and this is it. It's the whole moment here is self-doubt for the first time.
Yeah, I don't know if he's ever actually asked anyone for some. I mean, obviously he's asked Tommy to look after Christine and stuff like that,
but it was more orders still, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I mean in this simple way where he just genuinely wants someone else's kindness for something. In this case, it's stay with me so I'm not alone while I die.
Yeah.
So I thought that was quite fascinating. But he talks about how he's not sure if he's a fraud, and can you do me a favor? Can you make a wish and I can know if I'm a fraud or not. I can know if I'm real. And he's like, you don't have to say it out loud. You just have to make it. And he does. And obviously what we're going to be speculating in a minute is maybe not right now, but at the end of the discussion, when we get to the end of the episode, I want to speculate as to what that wish was.
I've got some theories.
I've got some thoughts myself. Especially given that he just broke down about, you know, his family and stuff. Like, obviously,
I think we're on the same lines.
You're going through a lot of thoughts here. But Wayne smiles and says, granted, and then keels over and dies. And then, like, all these, you know, the military, or, you know, the FBI. I think it was whatever organisation they were. They all come in, storming the place. They handcuff Kevin. They question him afterwards. You know, what did he say? Did you touch him? All that kind of stuff. Did they mention Russia? Maybe there'll be some Russia stuff in season 2. I don't know. But So I also, do you know what I like about this scene? Because eventually Matt mentions he's a chief of police, and the guy's like, "Oh, why didn't you mention that?" He's like, "Well, I'm off duty." And what I liked about this is, like, Kevin never actually tried to use that to make this easier on himself.
Yeah, it was like he was almost punishing himself, like going through it, even though he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, I kind of like this idea that he typically uses the fact that he's a police officer to get away with certain things or make life easier by having that badge, so he gets away with, you know, storming into a dry cleaner and taking his shirts, or
buying some booze.
Like, he has this extra he uses it as a crutch for himself. And I like the idea that after this ordeal, he's no longer willing to do that. He's still a cop, and we see, you know, later on, he puts on the vest and he gets the gun, and he's like, no, this is still who I am. This is still my job. This is still what I do. But
he's not abusing it anymore.
Yeah. So I like that touch. I thought that was pretty cool. So I'm going to stop Kevin's story here, because I feel like we have to talk about everything else. Because everything else,
rewind.
Yeah, because everything else comes back into Kevin discovers everything next. So let's go back and talk about everything that sets that up. So we'll start quickly with Tom, because I think Tom is maybe the simpler. Yeah. So Christine, for the first time, actually is like, he's not coming, is he? Wayne's never coming to see us, and Tom quite sort of legitimately says, we don't need him, like, I'll get a job. And he basically offers to have them be a family. That's essentially what he's saying. And what I liked about that is that it's essentially what his father did when he raised him, is that was another person's child.
Yeah.
Admittedly, harder to pass off as your own when it's a half black, half Asian kid. But he's willing to do this, and he's making these offers, and she seems receptive, although I was having a fishy feeling about her mindset right away. She felt like she was going off the deep end. She's
never done anything that easily.
Nah, I was expecting badness. So when he had that moment where he meets the religious guy who's on the bus, and he's like, "Hey, son, do you need any help?" And he's like, "No, do you just go around offering people help?" And he's like, "Yeah." Did they ever say yes? All the time. Which, you know, I'm not sure how to read into that exchange, actually.
He seemed to me kind of like Matt, in the sense that I think he's just showing that there are still good people around that, you know, like Matt does. He always just goes around and helps.
I think it's maybe the fact that Tom keeps refusing any help. He thinks he's on his own. He thinks, no, it's just us. We can't go to anyone for help. And
that's it. Yeah, and he thinks that everyone else is like that as well.
Yeah,
because he just assumes that everyone just goes, no, we can do it on our own. And Kevin's been like that to a fault as well, up until, you know, this episode where he asked for Matt's help.
That's true. He hears crying. He hears baby crying. And he gets worried because Christine was in the bathroom with the baby. So he runs into the bathroom. Now, I immediately assumed she'd commit suicide. I was expecting a body.
You went dark.
I went super dark. I was expecting the baby to be lying in a pool of her blood. That's honestly what I was expecting when he ran into that bathroom. Turns out, no. The baby's on her own. She's went AWOL. We don't know where she is. Still potentially a suicide, but just maybe more discreet.
Somewhere else, yeah.
Yeah. But, so he's left with the baby. And that's kind of where we leave him till later on. And that's all fair. Guilty Remnant, on the other hand, this is where we had the Metallica, Nothing Else Matters, coming in the cellos. I do apologize. You sure there wasn't any violins in there?
Positive.
It was just cellos.
It's just cellos, yeah.
Just cello, okay. I just assumed it was a string quartet when I heard it. But...
No, I only know because I wrote a piece on it.
All right, so
I did like a 3,000 word essay on that piece.
Okay, so it's not that you're just really good with your ears; it's just that you happen to have studied this immensely.
Yes. pretty much.
Aye, well, suck it. Well,
They do abuse those cellos, to be fair, so they do sound different.
let's turn the pitch up in this so it sounds like a violin, just as much as you can go.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yes, we have this whole scene. It's Jill's there, and Jill's trying to smoke. And I thought this was kind of amusing, actually. Laurie comes over and like stops her. And is like, but hypocritical here, Laurie. I mean, I know technically maybe the argument is that she's younger. She can't really decide to do this until she's 18. Blah 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 blah. But we have this exchange where she's telling Jill to go home because she knows what they're about to do is dangerous, and it turns out she was pretty right. But she's like, go home. Obviously in handwritten form. And meanwhile, Meg's just off to the side, like asking, "Do we go? Do we do this?"
Clicking her fingers, going, "Come on, bitch, listen to me."
Yeah, time to go. And she reluctantly lets it happen. She's like, "Okay, right, let's go. You stay here." Jill forces it. She gets up and puts on the white overalls and stuff, the white get up.
Yeah, it's because when she tells Laurie to talk, and she won't. So she's like, "All right, fine. If you won't, I won't."
What I thought was interesting about that is when she said talk back to Laurie, which again she wrote that down as well. She never said that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh wait, maybe we misread this in terms of her joining the GR, because it made me think: is it possible this is actually more of a ploy? More of a provocation. Thank you. A provocation of Laurie to try and like force her out of this almost. Like, well, I'm going to show you how this looks like to someone you love. Like, you're going to see me do this, and how are you going to like it when I tell you I'm not talking, when I'm telling you I'm not doing this, and so on. Like, I almost felt like she was goading her into trying to make a decision. Like, well, you want me to leave, you're going to have to speak, and by doing so, you're kind of giving up some of your commitment.
No, I see what you're saying.
I mean, I don't say that definitely was the case, but it sparked. Yeah, as soon as she said talk back, I'm like, oh, is she actually is she intending on pushing some buttons here? Is that kind of what the point of this is, rather than giving in and being part of the GR, which obviously is definitely viable given everything we've seen with her recently. But I was like, oh, maybe But again, they've swerved us in a lot of things, and it could have easily played either way. So they all go, and it plays a sort of montage of the various things leading up to this, stealing the photos, getting those fake bodies in last time. It's funny because we had a debate when we saw all those fake bodies coming in a couple of episodes ago. We had a debate as to exactly what they were doing. We thought there was going to be some sort of display, or there was going to be this. And at one point, you said they might put them in the beds next to them, so when they wake up, they'd be lying in the beds. And I said, that's bullshit. There's no way they're going to do that without waking anyone up. They didn't quite do that. They left them in the house.
Yeah.
With them. Now, I buy that a lot better, don't get me wrong, right? I think it made for some good moments. I will argue, though, if they had to break in the house of however many people, where they were, I do have to say, no one caught them? Not a single person when they were asleep caught them?
I mean, they did it with all the photos, and then no one caught them then.
No, but they were out. Most people were out. They were all at the dance thing.
That's true. You're right.
Big difference between sneaking in the house when most of the people are out and when
everyone was asleep. What do you want me to say? It was late at night.
No one's got an alarm?
They've cased the joint.
That's a lot of houses to case.
It is a lot of houses to case.
I'm just saying.
I don't know. I'm just spitting out bullshit here.
Now, admittedly, if they put everyone back where they left, because I'm not sure if we never saw enough of them to know if.
No, I was questioning that as well.
Because like some of them didn't leave when they were at home. Some of them left in various random places, like wherever they were. Some of them were in a road because they were driving or whatever. Like where did
school.
Yeah, school, exactly. Yeah. So where did they leave all these various people? And maybe they deliberately didn't show us all that too, so we just didn't know. It's kind of vague. Just accept what we see and just go on with it. But we see Nora wake up and she gets up out of her bed and she goes down. And Joe, that's funny because they set this up in the first episode with the cheesy Joker smile guy. He mentioned, yes, this is a really good model, but we've got a cheaper one that's like 10 grand cheaper. It doesn't look as good. And so when she walks down and she sees like her husband and kids sitting there, and they look like the creepiest things ever because they look fake. I'm like, oh, that's the cheap versions. Oh god.
Yeah. You could just tell immediately because obviously we saw the high quality ones.
Yeah. Because but the high quality one, I'm convinced. I mean, they basically just shot it with the actor lying there, being still, so it looked real. Whereas these things are like these shitty dummies that just are kind of like the people that they were. And
But
she has this great silent scream. You don't get to hear it. It's just
yeah, it does that a few times this episode. Actually, plays with the sound.
yeah. I think there was more music tracks in this episode than there was any other episode this season. It was very very consistent. In fact,
Hmm.
I think this was the only time this season, from my memory, that one of the main themes transitioned into the other main theme. Like it didn't
You might be right.
because I actually distinctly remember in this episode, like the strings of one of the like main themes then went into the departure theme, and
Yeah.
it never done that before. Like it was clearly a bit more packed with the music, which isn't a complaint. I liked all the music, so.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so big, and obviously like okay, people are going to react to this, and you're left thinking all episode because after that you see nothing of the town. It
Yeah,
sticks
that's
with,
it. You cut to Kevin, and that's it.
you stay with Kevin, you stay with Matt the whole time. They've been out. They get back in the evening. They come back into town, and there's like the woman from the first episode who lost her baby. You see her, she's like waving it, and I guess you want to justify her appearance in the last episode. Oh, that was to remind you of her before you see her in this one. I'm like, we didn't need it. I'd have recognised her anyway. It's fine.
Yeah.
But she's running around with a gun. We see GR like strung up, like Meg's like tied to a lamppost, and she's all bloody, and she's got this like evil smirk in her face, like she's happy that they're doing this. And obviously Kevin knows that they want to be martyrs, or at least some of them do. Like that's the ultimate goal with a lot of them, even if not all of them have realised that yet. And he's worried, and they go to that same street we've seen, like all the houses where the GR populate, and they're burning. They're on fire. There's a mob. There's a riot going on. There's people throwing those fake bodies into the houses, setting fire. It's chaos.
Beating them up, like just on the streets. They're just kicking them.
And the cops are struggling to maintain any kind of order.
There's not much they can do because there's just so many people.
Because they even say the fire department's not showing up. It's like
The roads are blocked, and they're like, "No, we're not coming."
Yeah, but even that feels like a bullshit excuse.
Yeah,
it feels like they even just don't want to help. Like let them burn. That's kind of what that feels like to me. And he runs up and he sees Laurie coming at the house, and without hesitation, and this is what I like about this, because I realised this when she said this, she is not. I'll on the flashback obviously, which was set pre everything. I'll on the flashback, she has not uttered a single word all season.
I know. And it makes that moment where she was talking with Patty in the diner much stronger as well, where she didn't break then. So we've seen the resolve.
Yeah, but she immediately, as soon as she saw Kevin, she shouts out Jill and points, and he just gets it and he runs in.
Yeah, and it's when he goes into the house that all the sound cuts out and you get just the music, and it's when he's in the house and the sound comes back in, like the sound of the fire comes back in as soon as he gets out. It's the music continues either side, but the rest of the sound while he's inside the house is just gone. It's completely focused on just the emotion of it.
And I have to say, throughout this scene, obviously it's beautifully done, very emotional. He's looking for Jill, he finds her, carries her out, gets her out, and obviously the music keeps playing. It's still very emotional. There's a lot of, you see Matt holding a guilty remnant in his arms. He's like helping the best he can. You see Kevin's got the little gas mask, or just gas mask, oxygen mask.
Oxygen, yeah.
I don't know, whatever. On Jill so that she can breathe, because obviously she's been inhaling smoke and stuff. And like all through, it's very emotional. And my head was like running with ideas about this wish. Right, I was thinking about this wish right at this moment. Now I don't want to give all my wish theory right away. I just want to mention the stuff that's relevant to this fire rescue. Because when she kind of wakes up in his arms and she looks up and she's not quite smelling, but she's definitely relieved to see him, right? And I'm like, Now I think there's maybe more to this wish, but I wonder if part of it was I want my kids to be happy to see me again, and
we'll get to it. I think mine there is just an extension of that.
Well, mine's is I was more to mine. It's just like, I think that's part of it though, and it's because he specifically talks about how she was relieved to see him, and when on the day of the departure, and that was really running through as he was like carrying her out the building. I'm like, she's going to be quite pleased to see him after this. Like, how could she not be? Like he came for her.
Do you know what I thought was really powerful? He was going through the house and he was trying to find her, and he was literally just rolling people over, going, "Nope, not her."
Yeah.
Like he was just ignoring everyone else and just focused on his daughter. Like no one else mattered at that point.
Yeah, but how many people? I mean, how much time would they have to save everyone if he?
No, I'm not saying he could have done, but it was just that's just how focused he was.
Oh yeah. So No. So that was great stuff. And obviously after this, like him and Laurie share this like stare. He sort of looks over at her, and she's like, it's a very kind of like, what did you do? Basically,
Yeah.
looking at her, and it makes him kind of. She wanders off, and we see her the next day wandering out to the water, and she's obviously kind of broken. And it's like, okay, like how is she possibly redeemable? She did this. This riot was caused by her. I mean, it wasn't her idea necessarily, but she did. She helped
She
it go
okayed,
through,
yeah.
and then she finally made the okay to say, "Let's go do this." Like she was a big part of this. She was like the second in command of this whole thing.
Yeah.
She caused this. She caused this chaos, and it does make her feel a little bit irredeemable right now. It's certainly if like so if I'm thinking, all right, Kevin wants his family back. If that was his wish, it feels really cheap for her to just come back and for everything to be accepted. It's like she's kind of ruined her place as a sympathetic person right now. Because what everything that the GR have been doing has been relatively cruel to some extent. Like a lot of
Yeah.
what they do to people, this was like over, and clearly, 'cause, like they caused this. They brought this on themselves. So I'm like, what is her game now? If this is where we're wrapping up the episode, then it felt like obviously this is the last 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it was. Like, where are we going from here into season 2? And I actually kind of like that. I'm not really sure what a lot of season 2. Like, I have no idea what the main plot of season 2 is, which I really like.
That's why I originally stopped. I was like, okay, that there's some open ending stuff, but I was like, okay, I got a complete plot. Like the story had an ending.
Oh yeah, they are.
I was satisfied.
It's a very well-rounded season because. But anyway, so she's out, and a car pulls up behind her, and she turns around, and it's Tom. It's like, oh, Tom's interacting with people. This is exciting.
Haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah, and he's on his own, and you get the impression that she's going to go off with him. Or they're going to do something together, and I can see it being separate from everyone else. I can see them having their own separate, because I can see Laurie after this event maybe not being this devout GR member anymore, and maybe
Probably not. I think she broke that when she realized how much she cared about Jill in that moment.
yeah, I made her speak. Yeah,
Like that's it. And up to that point, I mean, we saw it with the lighter, where she was putting on a front, but the feelings were still there. And I think this was the point where she couldn't accept it. She couldn't deny it any longer. She was like, no, she's in danger. This is she's more important than remembering what had happened.
I think what that says to me is that the guilty remnant don't have the wrong point of view when it comes to remembering. Like, it's not so much that everyone else should forget to move on. It's just that healing is a proper thing. Second chances and restarting, which is obviously a big thing with the ending here. But like the idea that you can recover from something and move on, which makes you stronger. Like if the whole thing is a test, like Matt likes to point out, then what doesn't kill you does make you stronger, and that's kind of the point. And that them obsessing over it, them devoting themselves to this, is actually the failing. Like they're the failing members of society by doing what they've been doing.
Yeah, it's. I mean, to go back to the departure being an extension of a metaphor for just death. It kind of feels like they're the unhealthy ones, because it's of course you grieve and you remember them, you don't forget them, but you have to find a way to move on and function with your life. Otherwise, you can't just not do what you can't do what the GR did, essentially.
Yeah, because eventually you'll destroy yourself.
Right, exactly, and I think that's why this is very clear to say no, they're wrong.
It's almost because people who can't handle the loss of a loved one, it's not uncommon for them to then try and take their own life. Like, it's someone who can't accept it, and they can't accept. Usually, if it's someone really close to them, obviously, not just like a male acquaintance. Oh no, my third cousin that I barely spoke to has passed away. Oh, how will I ever deal with this? But like, it's not that uncommon for that to happen. Where I can't live without that person. What's the point of living?
Yeah.
Go. And it's almost like if the GR is like this grand scale idea of this, where they even hate the idea that anyone, because even the idea that's like someone who isn't getting over it is like resentful of someone who has gotten over it. Like, let's say you've got a parent who dies and it leaves two kids. And one kid gets over it in a healthy way, not like they dismiss it, but they get over it. They get on with their life, and their life starts being successful because they're focused on work and they're focused on their married life or whatever. And the other kid can't accept it, and then they resent the other one. So the guilty remnant's almost like try to bring the other person back down.
Yeah, it goes back to Nora's episode You know, when she met the guy who'd already had the meeting with Wayne, and he'd moved on essentially. He'd got better, and he'd been successful. Then he'd written the book, whereas she was still stuck in the moment. She wasn't like the GR, but she was in her emotions. She was quite in a similar place.
Yeah, in a more normal way. Yeah,
In a more normal way, but I just
Yeah.
mean in the sense that she was still very much stuck in that moment. She couldn't forget either, and she couldn't move on. We saw how, like, with all the shopping, everything had to be the same,
yeah.
and it was damaging her life. She wasn't able to do anything. But once she had a meeting with Wayne, she accepted that she could move on. Things have started to get better for her. She's established new relationships.
But that's the funny thing here is that it turns out that kind of really didn't work. It was almost like a placebo. It was kind of
Yeah.
masking that it was still really there. Because as soon as she sees her fake family sitting in the dining table, she goes to write a note, like a goodbye note. It's like, oh, I actually get to say goodbye to you, Kevin. And we hear her narrate this entire thing where she's like, oh, I think I loved you, and I think you love me too, and you made me feel like I used to, like before the world changed, and you made me think that maybe we could go back to that, but I don't think we can. I don't think. And it's all very, and it's like, oh, is she actually going to leave? And I don't think she was. I mean, I know. This is the thing. Like, I know Carrie Coon's in more of the show, so I know she's not leaving. But like, is she going to have like a separate plot next season where she's off elsewhere,
Yeah.
on her own kind of idea? Like that could have been a possibility. And obviously that's not the way it seems to be going. And I think the big reason here is, so she gets to Kevin's house and she's going to give him the note or put the note on the door or whatever, and the baby's there, Christine's baby, and he left it in that porch, which I actually think is really interesting. He didn't take that with his mother; he left it with his dad, and I like the idea that he did that because he knows his dad did it before, so
Yeah,
he can do it
he
again.
knows he will do it. Like, no questions.
He has faith that his father can accomplish this, and I think that's kind of interesting. It does make me wonder what does he want to do with his mother now? Like what is he goes to
Yeah.
see her? Is it just to hey mother, I've kind of gotten a lot of shit, help me, or is
It could have been as simple as he was like, "What do I do?" And she said, "Give it to your dad."
Yeah, maybe.
He'll. But I am a little bit sad that he didn't keep it himself and do it, because I feel like it would have been a really nice, parallel, like we were talking about, parallel to what had happened with him and Kevin, and seeing him try and go through that could have been interesting.
I mean, we know she was a psychiatrist before. Maybe he wants that like help from her, or maybe if he wants to find Christine with her and have her help Christine get over everything. I don't know. Will she feel like her? Because presumably she felt her job as a therapist was like pointless after the departure, and that's why. Given how she felt, it was like, why am I making people feel better? 'Cause I don't feel better.
Yeah,
But
pretty much.
so I wonder if that's maybe something we'll see her do. Is she'll return to helping people because she realizes she can, perhaps. I don't know, but one of the things I really liked, of course, is that Kevin and Jill walking, like they're holding each other's hands, and she is happy to be with them, and there is smiles cracking. It's not quite as creepy as the smiling last episode. It's more of a natural.
It's a
smile.
normal smile. Yeah.
Yeah, a normal Jill smile. But it does feel like she's kind of, she's happy to be with her father again. And then obviously the dog runs out. The dog that he had in the backyard with the rope. And they started for a second, but then he gets down and he pets it. And so 2 reasons why I love this. One, it's that dog was not irredeemable. That dog could be okay, right? And we do go back to the dog representing either society, the dog representing his life, the dog representing his wife, whatever, like all of it, like like whatever it was representing. The idea that it could get better, which I think is ultimately what the end of this episode's about. But also because he kneels down and he pets it, it's a really great bookend, because the first scene with him in the entire show was when he goes to pet the dog and it gets shot. Whereas here he goes down to pet the dog and then it's
Everything's
fine.
okay. Yeah.
And he keeps it, like they walk it home. So I thought that was really, really cool. So they get home and Nora's standing there with the baby, and she just says, "Look what I found on the porch." I just like the idea of Kevin, and he said again, because it's half black, half Asian. He's like, "Who's that? Where did you get that baby, Nora? It's definitely not yours."
It's a fair question. I think to be fair, whenever there's a baby just showed up on your porch, where did that come from? Whose is that?
It's a pretty fair question.
Fair questions. Yeah.
I wonder if Tom left a note, because otherwise you would imagine he would take it to child services or whatever and say, "Hey,
Maybe.
baby showed up on the doorstep."
I get what you're saying, but I think that's even without the note. I think Tom was probably thinking, no, he'll look after it regardless, because I think that's ultimately who Kevin is.
Well, here's the thing. So he's standing there with Jill, who's happy to, that relationship seems to be repaired, right now, and they've got a dog. Nora's standing there, and she's holding a baby, that's not his, which he's also raised before. He's raised a kid that wasn't his, and this is where I'm like, if he wished for his family back, if he wished to have another chance at being a husband and a father, I feel like he's kind of back. It's a different woman, sure, and it's a different
But
son, but
but he's got a family.
it's the setup, yeah. And he's got a dog, which is the one thing that Laurie wanted, and he kind of refused before.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, yeah, had he just said yes to the dog, everything would have been okay, in a weird way. But he's gotten a second chance. And maybe to boil it down, maybe that's what the wish was. Simply was, I need a second chance. Maybe he didn't specify or whatever. It could have just been simply that.
It could have been. I just took the assumption it was I want my family, and this is saying Laurie isn't necessarily his family, but his family is just this group now. Like Nora has become his family.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think I'd read into it more than that. Like that's almost just that sounds on more by circumstance, like a group of friends, like these are your family kind of thing. Whereas I think with Nora, we've seen very clearly throughout this season they do have this connection, this spark.
Oh yeah, I mean,
that makes them feel like they have more chemistry than they did with his wife. And it kind of feels like, for whatever reason, he ended up with someone that maybe wasn't the right choice in the long run. Like maybe, I don't know, maybe she got pregnant with Jill, and that's why they ended up staying together. And I don't know, but for whatever reason,
maybe it's a way of saying that that midlife crisis that he had wasn't necessarily wrong. He was having those feelings for a reason.
Yeah, like
the way he handled it was clearly wrong.
Terrible.
But the feeling of being uncontent with his wife was maybe just something that he had to feel at that point.
Yeah, it came from a place. It wasn't just feeling feelings for no reason. There was a reason for the discomfort and the, like you say, discontent. So, I like it. I like this whole idea that no, we can move on from this. It's like the guilty remnant all season have been saying, no, we want to remind you that we shouldn't move on. We should just stay in this same place. And this ending is saying, no, we can actually have another chance, and we can do it better a second time. Failing's okay as long as you get back up. And I mean, even though we don't see anything, I think Nora holding that baby and smiling is enough to say she does not give him that letter. She does not leave.
No, and I think that's going to be a really rough moment. Come season 2 or 3, I don't know when it'll be, but I think at some point he finds the letter, and there's going to be a bit of drama there. I hope not, because I don't think I need it. But I mean, I'm sure if they do, it'll do well. But I feel like it's just an easy beat for them to play at some point.
I don't think they will. At least not in the way that I think you're suggesting they will. I can see it being brought up. I can see him finding it and just, hey, what's this? And I can see her telling the story. But I don't think it'll be a conflict.
I hope not.
Which is what I think of the way you said it. It sounds like you're he's going to find it and be
I think that's just my fear. That it seems an easy way to have a bit of drama, and I hope they don't.
I don't think so.
I've given them the benefit of the doubt because they've earned it.
I don't think so.
It's just a nagging fear in the back of the head.
I think that is, if it does get brought up, it'll get brought up in a way that's not like that. And the reason why I say that is because I don't think he will actually care. I don't think he will begrudge any feelings she was going through during the events of this time, because he did just witness someone kill herself with a blade or a bit of glass, and he just went through all this himself, and he had his own moment of self-realization that said, no, I actually want to try again. And I think he'll understand that she just had the same thing, essentially, where she was at the brink, where she didn't want to try, she just wanted to go away and go into a hole, but she decided, no, there actually is a chance, we can try again. So I don't think it would ever be a point of contention.
No, I hope not.
It's just you being cynical.
It is. I'm willing to accept that.
But no, that's the finale.
Do you know who I feel really bad for at the end of all this?
Mm-hmm.
Amy. She got shafted. She's not part of that family. After all that.
Here's what I think about Amy. Right?
Go on.
Here's what I think of Amy. I think I think the tension that was caused by her was because Jill felt like she was a replacement daughter, right?
Yeah.
Kind of in the same way that his dad already went to another woman, right? Even if she didn't know that, right? I don't think she did, really. Maybe she suspects something, but I don't think like, she ever found out that had happened. But I feel like it's no, she's here and she's like taking some of the spotlight because we know that Jill feels disconnected with her father and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what that was kind of tapping into. And the idea of, again, on top of that this nagging suspicion that she wants to sleep with her father, it's like this whole complex coming into it where,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's why that was unhealthy, her being there, even though there wasn't anything necessarily going on.
Yeah. I feel bad for her. I mean, like, it's like she presumably had been there for a while. She'd been living with them for quite some time, and then she was just like, oh, "I'm going to stay with some friends because clearly you've got issues." And now, things are looking up. Jill's.
Here's a question
feeling
though.
better.
We never saw in the flashback. What if she was a really shitty friend anyway, and she only even became friends with Amy because Jill was already in a really bad place? It's like, oh, that's a shithead for me to hang out with.
It's possible. It's possible. I feel like it's unlikely because she always seemed to kind of drag Jill up a bit.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe if we see her in season 2, we can see how it worked out. I have to imagine that Jill would be nicer to people around her after the events.
Yeah,
of this
that would
finale.
be a fair assumption. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine that that feels like just a smaller point that maybe they just didn't have time for and didn't want to bog the
No, I
episode
know.
down.
I just would point out, since she stormed off, we didn't see her, and then I just feel bad for her when she'd been feeling like she was trying to be part of that family for a long time, and she never quite was. And then this time it's like, oh, the family's together, and she doesn't get to be part of it.
I think, yeah, I think that's like, it's not her family.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean literally, like deep down, it's not like, kind of like we're saying Laurie's not really his wife and not his family anymore. She's not really their family either.
Oh no, okay.
And that may be why it didn't work, why it was creating more problems than it was helping. I don't know. But then again, maybe now Jill will go reach out to her and...
Yeah, maybe she will. Maybe we'll get that.
I don't know. But like I say, if she does just represent a bad part of Jill's life, maybe we just won't see her again, and she's just off to fend for herself.
Yeah,
she'll find another 40-year-old man somewhere to go and seduce.
Maybe she'll have more luck.
I used to say when he was in his other personality, he wasn't up to no good.
That's true.
That's all I'm saying. Jekyll and Hyde. So no, there you go. That's season 1. I legitimately think that got better as it went along, for the most part.
Yeah, I think there was the one weaker episode. Was it 7?
So episode 7 was a little bit weaker, but episode 8 and 10 were both... There was a lot of good ones, obviously, but 8 and 10, I think, were 2.
They're the standouts. Yeah.
Those are the 2 that make me go, alright, I think I get what people mean when they're talking about like season 2 being like some of the best TV. I can see if it's more of that level for like the whole season, or
you can see it forming from that.
Yeah,
can't you? Like,
a good chunk of the season. But I think what's exciting is okay, sure, right, okay, they're going to have this baby. Presumably Tom and Laurie are off doing something, but I really don't know what the plot is for next season.
I have no clue.
And that's kind of exciting because I feel like the GR are done. I mean, I'm not saying they're not going to exist anymore, but I feel like the actual story of like our main characters within the GR.
I'm pretty sure from promos that I saw at the time they moved, so they're in a different town entirely.
Oh, right, okay.
But I don't know who moves. I don't know which. I really have no idea.
I mean, again, going with the whole idea of starting again, like moving to another town would be part of that.
Exactly. That would follow those themes.
So, no, very good though. I am glad we're doing this. So, season 2.
Me too.
We'll be starting season 2 midweek, late Thursday probably. It seems to be the typical time. So you can look forward to that. Let us know what you thought of this episode and the season in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. Head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv if you want to support the channel and everything we do here. There's some bonuses over there and all that kind of thing. Have a look. But that is us otherwise. So thank you once again for watching. Keep watching TV and we'll see you next time.